the nitty-gritty. Conversations get real live, it's time for the nitty-gritty. The revolution's not televised, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind, it's time for the nitty-gritty. More than talking, we taking action, it's time for the nitty-gritty.
Yo! IG, we up! What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Anacostia.
It's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. We have Anthony Anderson of the hit show Anacostia web series.
Welcome down to TNGS.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have another person coming. I know he's on the way. Magical. That's
Magical,
part of a new project of yours.
Yeah, it's a new reality show called City Boys. Magical. When you see him, you will know why he's on reality TV.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. Let me turn my music down. Of course, I got some J. Cole False Prophets. For those that don't know, you know, big J. Cole fans over here. But yeah, man, happy to have you on the show, bro.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to the fathers.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Happy Father's Day to you.
Cat sings, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got some talent on TNGS. But yeah, happy to have you. I know we've been talking a lot. So we all go to the same barbershop.
Same barbershop.
Friendly Faces. Charlamagne. Yeah, and like every Saturday, it's funny, like we've been talking about trying to get a live session for TNGS at the barbershop.
Right.
Because you know our conversations
that'd be
are
nice.
They're living, right?
Yeah.
It would be perfect setting for a TNGS conversation, right?
Those conversations are crazy.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, it's early in the morning.
Exactly.
So it's early in the morning, like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. Like the barbershop is open 5, 6 in the morning. So that's where the loyal clients come in.
Yeah, I mean, we had everything from plumbers to lawyers, people who teach at very prestigious schools in the area, people in all kinds of industry, and we're all having this conversation. I think that barbershop dynamic, man, you can't, you just can't like mimic that, you know? I mean, it's just like raw, yeah.
And the crazy thing is, it's not like it's not like what you see in like the movie barbershop. It's not like ridiculous conversation. I mean, this is going into politics.
We talk about everything.
Just everything. Sports, entertainment.
Pop
so it's
media,
like everyone is talking about something. Everyone's talking about their stuff.
Shout out Marvin. He said, Happy Father's Day. He said, my boy meant, what did he say? My boy need more room in the middle. Laugh out loud. No, we got one more coming. So we like that's why we spaced out. There we go. We got one more coming. So we get tight.
Funny. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like no, we're not afraid of nobody, but we gotta make space, Marvin. You know what I'm saying?
And not only
that's
that,
hilarious.
You know, it's good to have a little bit of personal space.
Yeah.
You don't need to be on top of
that's about to be gone.
Yeah, that's like Anacostia.
But that's why we need more people watching the Nitty Gritty show, so y'all can fund it. We get more space, get bigger couches, get bigger places. You know what I'm saying? Like buy our mugs, buy our shirts. Shameless plug.
So I would like to ask you: do people oftentimes get you mixed up with the Anthony Anderson and Blackish?
Yes.
They actually have his face. So when I IMDb the show, they actually have Anthony Anderson's face on top of yours. Then when you look, it's like that's not the Anthony Anderson I know.
So it causes some confusion as far as like first of all, let's get one thing straight. I am the first Anthony to be nominated for an Emmy.
Oh.
So I got nominated for an Emmy first.
Okay.
I got nominated for an Emmy in April of that year. He got nominated for an Emmy in July of that year.
So
let's just say that. But yeah, so like sometimes because it's in the entertainment and I have to go to functions in LA, sometimes they'll see the name on the program and they'll think it's the other one, and then when I show up, they're like, oh, it's you from Anacostia. I'm like, yeah, it's me from Anacostia. It's like, yeah, it's me. But yeah, it hasn't given too much of a problem as far as any type of money being sent to the wrong person. So yeah, so it's fine.
And you're okay with using that stage name, and he is as well, or do you think as you gain popularity that you may have to change your stage name?
Well, the rule is where it relates to the Screen Actors Guild is like to avoid confusion because of how sometimes these projects pay you. To avoid confusion, they would prefer actors not having the same identical name because it sort of like causes confusion, I think, in payroll or something. But I don't know if he has a middle name. I don't have a middle name, so it's strictly Anthony Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're forced to do a middle name, I'm not sure exactly how that would sit with me, because it takes me back to that whole, like, Roots, like when they had the Kunta Kinte, and it was like, what's your name? It was like Toby, and it's like change the name to Toby. I'm like, well, we'll see how it is. I mean, you have Vanessa Williams, and then you have the other Vanessa Williams.
Right.
And for a time, the Miss America Vanessa Williams, who's my favorite, she had to go by Vanessa L. Williams. And then after, it was no doubt that when you say Vanessa Williams, the first picture that popped in your head was Miss America.
Right.
Say the best for last, Vanessa Williams. She could drop the L. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. Hopefully, because I don't have a middle name.
Yeah, that'd be kind of wild to try to make up something or whatever. I think what I want to do is give our listeners some background too on your show.
Yep.
Tell us, how you guys started, what got you into this. Okay. Because there's a lot of people now trying to hit like instant fame. You have all kind of people trying to do YouTube blogs now, and I guess they get weary or they hear about like the success that Insecure.
Oh yes,
Lisa Ray.
Yeah. So like they look at that kind of like instance of success, and everybody wants to do it or put on like some type of a show. But I know there's a lot of work going to it. So give us a little background on Anacostia, or like what got you writing. Was that your first time writing?
Well, well, first of all, the show is called Anacostia. It's a 10-episode dramatic series, online series. We're in our 10th year. So our 10th year, we started in 2009. We're in our sixth season currently. We're currently on Amazon Prime. Some of the older episodes can be found on YouTube if you look up Anacostia. And it's just basically a African-American soap opera. It's just in the genre of Young and the Restless, All My Children, Dynasty, Falcon Crest.
I kind of get that feel from watching it.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But it has to deal with a community in Washington, D.C. where you're dealing with love, lust, lies, mystery, murder, all of the staples of a soap opera, but having African Americans at the center. And oftentimes in soap operas, the African American characters are used as a segue to someone else's story, or they are the character that is either a product of a biracial union that was so scandalous that the white man left town with the black woman pregnant, and then this child grows up and finds out that their dad is someplace else, and they come into town with a lot of angst. Or in the case of Victoria Rowell, who was on The Young and Restless, they just brought her in as someone who was completely like functionally illiterate, like she couldn't read and anything else. And and unfortunately, that's been the trajectory of the storylines for African American people on soap operas. So being a fan of soap operas, I just wanted to create one that had us at the forefront and had us saying that we are not those people that you're used to seeing on television. And so it just sort of took off after the first episode in 2009.
Well, and that's interesting you put that up, because that's not something, and I guess depending on what generation you come from or whatever, you wouldn't think a black soap opera is something that we need. But there's not a lot of them out there. I think from the perspective of like what's like popular out there, I think you have some stuff out there on OWN, I guess that falls to the soap opera.
Yeah.
And then it may be Empire, but then that's about it.
Yeah.
Everything else is either hardcore drama,
right?
Like the Powers, the Snowfalls of the world, or they're like a dramedy, i.e., i.e. like Insecure, or like She's Gotta Have It. Right. Yeah. So you never think about a soap opera is a unique thing in its own right.
Right. But the thing is, they've had the background of not having the best relationship with African American characters, even to this day in 2019. They still haven't had the best relationship with African American characters, and so we come in 20 minutes. We sort of broke some of the rules because a web series was used to be thought of as 3 to 8 minutes long, and we came in the door at exactly like 25, 35, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So we have Majical here joining in.
Oh, we have Majical Morgan.
Come sit down, sir.
And you will see exactly why he's good for.
Yeah, we're already out there telling you guys. So jump in on the
I thought it
conversation.
was like radio. I didn't know they were actually singing me. Hey,
Yeah, I see you.
This is Majical.
It's
Hey.
live.
Majical Morgan.
how you guys doing?
You got,
Yes.
but you got to show the boobs, though. You got to show the boobs.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
We got star cutouts.
Listen, come
The
on.
moon, the moon.
Yes, I have something like that too. I should listen. You should let me know. I have my little yellow platform.
Okay.
Come
Yes.
close. Just can get that.
Alright, so we in here.
I don't mind.
Everybody got enough space. There's enough space on the
Yes.
couch.
No, I don't
So-
mind.
Okay.
We was talking about some background on Anacostia, and then just the idea of this you bringing a black soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like, until you said it, you would never think like, man, that's something that we need.
Right.
That's a part of the blacks experience where we haven't integrated ourselves into. So that's cool
Right.
that you had the foresight to say, you know what, we need more of us in that space. And I honestly don't know the history of the soap operas as far as, you know, the characters we've portrayed, what our roles have been in there. And once again, because I guess if you I think more so, most of those watchers have been ideally what, women or of an older generation or of a previous generation?
Well, the crazy thing about it is the #1 demographic for soap operas are African Americans. Like,
Oh, wow.
African Americans are the #1 demographic and the #1 viewers of soap operas.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
And that's been that for like years and years and years. However, the strange thing is we are the least represented in those soap operas.
Wow.
So we are the #1 viewers of those soap operas, but we are the least represented in those soap operas.
Got it.
And even when we are represented, we just recently had a storyline on The Bold and the Beautiful where there was a transgendered character that came out as transgender. She completely led the storyline that particular year. Every single organization wrote about the storyline. It was the #1 trending topic on Twitter, her performance, but when it came time for the Daytime Emmy nominations, she didn't even make it onto the pre-nom list.
Wow, so despite all the rave and all the attention, still made the nomination.
Still nothing. We're still waiting for an African American woman to win lead actress in a drama series. And we're now on year 48. It's on 48 years. That's
I
not
didn't
been.
realize
That's never
the
been.
whole time you what's her name from
Tracy
How to Get Away with
Ullman.
Murder? None of them have won.
Well, that's prime time. So when you talk about Viola Davis, but even with Viola Davis in prime time, she was the first African American woman in prime time to win lead actress in a drama. But when it comes to the daytime, the only person that's really been up for it has been Debbie Morgan, who was part of the storyline with Jesse and Angie on All My Children, and she came close to winning, but she hasn't won. So we're now in 48 years, and we still haven't had a woman of color win that particular award.
Even though we're the ones funneling all the money into it.
Right.
So that's one of those things, if we decided to boycott those shows, we can have an instant effect.
Yeah,
on those numbers.
but the thing about a boycott is the thing about boycotts is you can speak about a boycott, people have to get on board for a boycott. People can see the reason why there needs to be boycott. However, people are very reluctant on getting onto a boycott.
Got it.
And that just makes the whole purpose of doing a boycott falter. And it's like a couple of years ago, we did this whole, everyone did this whole campaign of Oscar So White.
I remember
that. Chris Rock.
Yeah, because all of the nominees that were in the acting categories were people of color. And so what sometimes happens is we are sometimes sort of thrown a few bones to sort of say, all right, well look, we heard you, we hear you, and then you go 6-7 years and it's the same thing.
Right. So does this mean that we need to create our own platforms?
We have to.
Okay.
We have to, and a lot of people don't understand it. That's why the need for an award show like the NAACP Image Awards needed to be created. The Soul Train Awards, the BET Awards, the Alma Awards for the Latino community. Like those awards were created because they felt like our communities or their communities were being so underrepresented with these mainstream awards that we have to award our own people.
And it's funny you say that because there's been some arguments in Hollywood that people don't really attend the BET Awards that much anymore, or that when you win a BET Award, it doesn't really mean as much as winning an Oscar or winning a Grammy. And I feel like, to your point, I think Drake made this speech recently when he won his Grammy. Are we going to allow other people's perceptions to dictate how we feel about our own career? At the end of the day, an award is an award, and if if you're getting booked, if you're being booked and busy,
hello,
you have a good career, right? So let's bring you into the conversation. So you are a reality TV star, huh?
Well, singer-songwriter first.
Okay, singer-songwriter.
Okay, that's what's up.
Just want to say that's how I got on the show, because of the personality that is behind the music and the entertainment and the things of that nature.
Okay.
You know, that's how I think he met me at a party and was like, who is that?
It's very loud, very boisterous.
Yeah, that's me.
And what kind of genre do you sing in?
I probably do pop, dance, R&B, club music.
Okay.
But not too gay.
What is too gay?
You know, not Sylvester.
Okay, so
Sylvester,
what about Todrick? My lips, heels, nails, here. That song. I love that song. Is that
he's cute.
too much?
No, he's cute.
Okay, good. Because I like him.
We like Todrick.
Okay.
He gives you a nice 1-2 beat.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, the shimmy.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
So now, are you from the area?
I'm
DC
originally from Northern Virginia, from a special little place called Manassas.
Ooh, that's close enough. Manassas like what, 2-hour drive from here?
Hour and 5.
Okay, hour and 5. Not too bad.
A lot quicker on my broom, but but we got here.
That's what's up. Now, what brought you to the area, and what started you in music? I ask everybody that question.
I grew up in music. My mom was part of a 80s rock band. She was offered a contract to go to Japan and record an album, but she didn't take it because she's not the type to be on stage. My mom's the type that she sings with her eyes closed because she just doesn't like being in front of people. Me,
wow.
From
what we understand,
I don't really have that problem.
Yeah.
Right, I don't have that problem. So I've just always been singing, writing music. I came to the area when I was young, so I'm basically from North Carolina. I've been here most of my life, and yeah, that's just trying to make it and working the 9 to 5 and still trying to be an independent artist is difficult, especially when you pay for everything yourself. But it's part of I'm gonna have some great stories when I do make it.
Right.
You know.
And so how did you get, I don't want to say noticed for the reality TV show? Like, how did that come about?
So I had heard whispers that there was a reality show in the DMV that they were trying to do. It's called City Boys DC. The friend who once was on the show is how I got introduced. He had a party and Anthony was invited to the party, and somebody said something out of the way to me, which does not work ever. I'm an Aries by nature. April 1st is my birthday. So I don't hold any punches. I kind of give it to you how it is, and if you don't like it, then fuck you. Oh, sorry. Can I say that?
I mean, it's kind of an adult show, right? You know,
I didn't know.
Hey, what's up, champ? Hey, Dad. My dad is on, right?
Happy Father's Day.
And so, can you give us a little background on what is City Boys DC? What can we expect? Tell us what the premise is.
Okay. City Boys DC is 5-6 LGBT African American people, because we have a transgender on the show, so I can't say boy. I mean, it is boys, but she's. I mean, you know what I mean. You know, she's part of the LGBT community.
I'd rather you fumble it than me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're part of the community, so I think you get a little bit more grace. If I say it. It comes up. Yeah.
So it's City Boys, and it's 5-6 of us. We've had some cast shakeups. Everyone lives busy lives, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. but we all are pursuing different things. I really don't know what the other ones are pursuing because it never was filmed on the show. But at least I can speak for me, pursuing a music career and writing my own stuff, putting out my own material, trying to build a brand that isn't sucking dick behind DJ booths.
Oh, so
I was about to go there. So like Katrina, she watches a lot of reality TV, right?
I really do.
And so I understand what shade is. So I think there might have been a little bit of that there.
No, that was elaborate. No, because shade,
he was putting his head down laughing.
Because shade is supposed to be masked, not so straightforward. I'm just speaking facts.
So that was a read.
Right, that was a read.
You gotta do a read, honey.
Yeah.
So, question for you.
Okay.
Because I am a reality TV. I watch reality TV junkie. I was at Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay.
I don't really watch Love and Hip Hop.
Me neither.
I like Housewives of Atlanta. I do watch Iyanla.
Okay.
I find it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When she's not talking about sticking cucumbers up her pussy and things like that.
Iyanla does talk about that. Fix my life, Iyanla.
This might not be the episode for the kids.
Sorry.
I just realized the kids are watching. This might not be the one for the kids.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know about Iyanla doing that. But I wanted to ask, how authentic is reality TV? Because we oftentimes hear things are scripted. I know Tamar, I watched the Braxtons. Tamar has alluded to the fact that she feels that the WeTV will orchestrate things to create, I guess, drama, right? Like they may tell them to get to some place at a certain time and then turn her a different time. So then when she's late, her sisters are upset with her because they were meeting. So does that happen behind the scenes to create drama?
I wouldn't. We don't have to create drama in this group. Is the honest truth. I wish some of the stuff that was on the show was created, but it's not. I would say the only thing that would be even remotely, I guess, quote unquote, scripted is that we do all know each other, as far as in the different circles, and we might have brushed and said, hey, or, we know each other in that aspect. So when it comes to filming and stuff, I necessarily wouldn't, me personally, hang out with some of the people outside of us doing the show. Does that make sense? Like they wouldn't be my, oh hey, what you doing this Saturday night? Y'all wanna go out and grab a drink? And like no, they're actually all blocked on Instagram and Facebook.
You blocked all your castmates?
I did.
Is the drama that serious?
Yes.
Are you allowed to speak as to why or no? Because
I want people to save it if they want to watch the show. I don't want to take away all the.
No, right, you're gonna tell us exactly what happened, but why maybe you feel to the point where they have to be blocked. But that seems a little serious.
If you met them, you would probably block them too. There's a schizo in the group who has multiple personalities, and I'm not joking. I think the actual term is DID or dissociative identity disorder is the word. Like he has Alice, he has Cree, he has Lucky 8 Ball. Like he has in
Oh, he the dude from the movie Split.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And there is a beast. There is one that is a beast. One of the personalities. Then we have a meth head, or excuse me, not recovering meth head. I mean, he was recovering while we were filming, but then he wasn't recovering because he slipped up. I mean, I understand. He tried to tell me that if I say that you're an addict, he says, no, I'm a recovering addict. But I was under the impression that if you were an addict, that's something that you're going to be even after you're not indulging in the substance, right? Like, you're always going to have that addiction. So it's not going to be like, oh, I can just go and you have an addictive personality. So whether it not be crystal meth or cocaine or heroin or alcohol, which we got one of those too, that's the transgender, which I can understand having a drinking problem, being transgender, especially a black
he put all that business out there.
No, I'm just saying she puts it out herself.
Okay.
She has 44 double D implants that the city paid for.
The city?
The city paid for.
Get me started on that.
Now the city, how can you
hold on, before we go to the city, get a question from one of our followers.
Okay.
Marvin wanted to know, what show are you on? And I don't know if you caught this, Marvin, so tell them again, you're on City.
Okay, the show is called City Boys DC, 5, 6, how many?
6.
six LGBT African American men/woman living in the DC area, all pursuing our dreams and the different conflicts and relationships.
So it's currently being filmed, Marvin. So it's currently, well, it's not being filmed. It's currently being edited. So the show should hit the broadcast like around the 4th of July weekend. But in like 2 weeks, we should be getting like a trailer, which sort of will explain some of the things that Magic has gone through, even potentially pressing charges on one of his castmates, which we had to talk him out of.
Now, are you an executive producer of the show?
Yeah, I'm the creator of the show.
Oh!
So you're a
So I had to talk Magic out of filing charges on one of his castmates. Because I personally feel there's shared blame. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when something, look at his eyes. Sometimes there's shared blame when things go amiss. Everyone has to take responsibility for their own actions in a situation happening.
Gotcha. Wow.
So I'm curious because this is something I always want to ask, like, all the other creators of the reality TV or whatever. First of all, when you're filming, like how long do you actually film? Like I always wonder, like how much footage are they really pulling?
It's
in
a
the
lot
editing
of
process.
It's a lot of footage. It's a lot of footage. Like depending on how cordial they are with each other that particular day, whoever's filming, depending on how cordial it is, it can go anywhere from about 2 to 3 hours to 15 minutes. I think his shortest one had to end at 15 minutes because him and the other person just could not. They just kept butting heads.
But they were doing more than butting heads. They was actually okay. So there was an altercation. Okay.
There was a physical altercation.
Not on my end.
Well,
I mean, I
he was involved.
I was not the one. I was the one that was attacked. Let's just be clear.
Okay, Magical was hit.
Physically attacked.
Magical was hit.
I was bleeding.
Okay. He was bleeding and physically. I don't want to say attacked.
Yeah, as a creator and shower, you're trying to be
there was a scuffle.
Okay.
There was a scuffle, a mutual scuffle, because of some things that had boiled over, some things that Magical said to this other person. Provocation.
Okay.
Now it's gonna be on the show.
Yes.
We're gonna see this all
I
play out.
have a quick
Provocation.
Provocation. When you're doing reality TV, how well do your cast have to be mic'd? Because I've seen a lot of situations where they're in restaurants and it's hard to get that noise out.
Do you use boom mics or you mic?
Both. So they've had lavaliers and boom mics. Surprisingly, gratefully, we've had the lavaliers to where when someone else has been talking. So the thing is, they don't understand that those mics, we can hear everything.
Right.
We can hear every single detail of what you're talking about. So even if you are whispering to the person next to you, we can still hear that. And so sometimes when you're hearing that, as a producer, you have to go back and sort of fish through that and say, hey, well, I heard you just brought that up. This is the time and place for you to say what it is that you're talking about. Yeah. Do
you guys tell? So let's say, for instance, I was talking about Magical in a little whisper to somebody else. Would you then create a format to force me to tell him what I said, or would you even tell Magical, well, so and so said this and that way when we meet? He's already upset because he knows what I said.
Well, no. So what would normally happen is usually one of the people would come to production and say, I'm pissed off at Magic. I don't want to film with Magic for a minute. Mm-hmm. And it's our job to ask, why are you pissed off with Magical? Mm-hmm. Pissed off with Magical because I heard, and a lot of times, they all know that they know each other, but they know more about each other's friends. They know people who know them. So sometimes Magical will go outside of filming and go speak to people who know these people. And then they'll go back to them and say, Magical came to me and said this. And then they'll come to me and say, well, look, he's outside here talking crazy whack about me, and I don't want to see him because if I see him on site, I'm going to lay hands on him on site.
Okay.
So we have to remind them you can't hit each other. But the good thing is, let's be adults. Let's sit you guys down and talk about it. Now, you can sit down and talk about it. I can't vouch on how it's going to come out from his end. Can't vouch how it's going to come out on the other person's end.
But the camera's rolling.
But the cameras are rolling.
Gotcha.
And Magical is Magical has an easy trigger. He's very easily triggered. So it don't take much. And because he's easily triggered, Magical will not. There's no in between from 1 to 10. It's always 10. So when he attacks you, he's going to go to 10. So nothing's off limits with him. So, and a lot of the other people don't understand when you're in a battle with him, verbally, he's going to go for the jugular.
I'm going to win.
Okay. Question for you. Can you give our viewers kind of an idea of how much a project like this costs?
Ooh.
And do you receive any kind of funding or support? Is reality TV more costly than doing the soap opera?
Yes.
Can you just explain why? Maybe give us a ballpark figure of how much each costs, how you go through the process of funding, so that way we kind of have an idea.
Well, with City Boys, everything was, if it wasn't paid out of my pocket, everything was fortunately done out of gratis. Just by working with people who are already working on Anacostia, they sort of spilled over into filming segments of City Boys.
Okay.
And so because they've already gotten paid on Anacostia, they're like, all right, well, we don't want to bleed your pockets too much, so like we'll go ahead and do this as gratis. But there have been sometimes getting venues or like getting location permits. Stuff like sometimes not everyone drives, and he has an issue with that. Not everyone drives, so it's like sometimes you have to be the Uber and sort of go pick everyone up and sort of like transport them to the different locations. But yeah, but that's the job of an executive producer. So like that's what you sort of so that's what you have to do. I think that it's more costly doing the reality show because it's in real time. So it's in real time as opposed to Anacostia, to where most of the locations are actual homes that we own, and so we can film. So we can film there. So there's no location fee. Many of the cast members double as craft services. So Marian Akpan, who's on our show, she's a caterer. So if she's filming, everyone loves when Marian is on deck that day because they know that Marian's going to cook lunch. Like she's going to bring breakfast and then she's going to cook that particular day. So City Boys, it's like it's on the fly. Someone like Majical has even had like surgical procedures done on the show.
Oh, could we? Are you able to? What did you?
My lips.
What did you get done? You got them.
Yeah, I get fillers on my lips.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Shoot.
Yeah, but why don't you tell him what you asked the doctor before he did the fillers?
Oh, if I could still suck dick after.
Oh. And he said yes?
Yeah, he said it shouldn't affect me.
Did you have any numbness afterwards?
No.
Okay.
Oh, but I could not whistle. That was one thing that I did not take. I was just one day like, oh, where's my whistle? My lips don't.
I'm curious now to see did you see a dramatic effect after the first shot, or did it take a couple?
So I did my first one maybe in May, and then I went back and did another one in August. The first one I did one syringe. The second time I went back and did 2.
Okay.
But on the first day that he got the lips done, he got into an altercation that day too.
Yeah. He knows how. It's basically. Have you guys seen Girl Interrupted? You ever seen that movie? No. with Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie, Whoopi Goldberg.
I don't know why I feel like
it's a mental institution. Brittany Murphy's in it. Basically, he went to the asylum and was like, I want those 6 and decided to film a reality show.
Is your goal with this City Boys to get picked up by a major network?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, to be completely honest, I think we could talk about it now because the deal is dead and done. We actually was in a deal with Flavor Unit Entertainment, which is Queen Latifah's company.
Oh. Okay.
And so we actually they through a person saw one of the trailers and said, hey, we want to bring this in front of Queen Latifah and her company. And so everyone got signed as what's called an attachment deal with Flavor Unit Entertainment. Unfortunately, the third party who was involved in that deal somehow, way, shape, or form, got either, depending on who you believe, either got booted out from Flavor Unit, or they decided to go their own way. And because we were under them technically, whatever happened to them, we moved away from that group too. But also Jason Lee, who is part of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, he actually came to DC, sat down with everyone, and said that the show was phenomenal, and that the concept was phenomenal, and it was time for a show like this to happen. Because if you look at the Housewives of Atlanta, most of those women that sit there, and what make them special is their commentary in their confessionals. And what they don't know is that everything that they're saying is that has been scripted pretty much by a gay man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I learned that. So stuff like Reed and T, that came from the LGBTQ community in Atlanta, and I think Tamar credited.
Right.
Because she was using a lot of that vernacular.
I think even they say like a lot of the makeup now.
Yeah.
And like
that's why a lot of them look like drag queens.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like you said that. No, I heard that.
You did say that. You came from that.
Yeah. It was. Oh man, it's a comedian. He's on Instagram. His brother's gay, so he's like trying to help his brother support that lifestyle. He was around it a lot. And he said he found out that the drag community is actually the whole beat face, like the overdone makeup we see, all the colors, even like a lot of the hair, that came out of that community.
Yeah, those cuts, colors, fashion, everything that you usually see is, if you look behind, like a lot of these women, especially the Housewives of like Atlanta, a lot of them have a bunch of gay makeup artists, a bunch of gay assistants, stuff like that. And that's why I think if you watch the show carefully, whenever they start throwing out words like queen or anything else like that, Andy Cohen usually rings them, kind of saying like, hey, like do y'all know what y'all are actually saying? Because the thing is, a straight black woman can be a gay man's best friend, but also be his worst enemy as well.
Why would you say that?
Because oftentimes straight black women are the first ones to call a gay man a faggot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Are the first, as soon as they get mad at their gay friend, that's the first thing that's gonna come out their mouth. You faggot.
You ain't no real woman anyway.
Yeah. That's the first thing that will come out of most straight black women's mouths when they get into an argument with their black gay friend is, you stupid faggot, or stuff like stuff like that. And they don't understand that in order to be a gay man and to be comfortable with anyone, that's a sign of trust. Like, that's a sign of trust that I am allowing you to see the most intimate and most vulnerable side of me. And I never would expect you, that I've given this side of myself to turn around and throw it back in my face.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to know from you guys, both of you guys, your opinion on Black Lives Matter and you being a gay black man. Do you feel as though when you're out there for Pride Weekend that the gay community supports everybody as a collective, or is there some kind of divisiveness being that you are a black man?
Yeah, I think that's a good question.
Can I answer that?
Yes, go for it.
We have a black gay pride, and then we have capital pride.
Okay.
That should sum it up.
Oh, wow.
Capitol Pride, they will shut down the city, we'll have a float, have a parade, be on the different networks and stuff. But when it's Black Gay Pride, it's more of, or at least what has been advertised of recently, is a lot of going to the clubs, you know, the strippers are in town, the sex parties, yeah, all that sort of stuff. You know, pay $20 at the door and take your trash bag, sort of. Those, I mean, am I wrong?
But and I'm happy y'all bring that up because, so of course on this show we talk a lot about social advocacy and all of that, and I think something that I have seen. And so you guys can either educate me, correct me, whatever's going to be the appropriate term. But what I've seen personally is I've seen members of sometimes the LGBT community almost hijack the efforts of civil rights. And what I mean by that is it's almost like there was a colored bathroom, right? A colored water fountain. You didn't really see a differentiator for gay, although we know at the time we were living in it wasn't accepted. But I think the thing that bothers me so many times is that, you know, you'll have a lot of people with the whole pride movement. Not saying I have an issue with it, but I'm just saying it seems that it was only designed so that white people could be freely gay. I don't feel like that was extended for other people to be freely gay, because I feel like when they signed laws that, you know, when gays were able to get married, when they started like trying to create laws, I feel like that was because there were powerful white men who had sons that were gay, and they were making a lane for them to be gay and experience the American dream in the most comfortable way possible. Whereas, you know, I still see, like, when you see the negatives of that community, they typically still put a black face on that. They create the negatives. So I always wonder, like, are you, because I've heard Jesse Smollett, but I guess that's not a name that we're supposed to talk about these days. But something he said in the interview, so I want to bring it up while I have you here.
That smack was heard around the world, honey.
But something he said is that he says he's a black man first and then a gay man. So, you know.
No, he's a liar first.
Got it. That's what I'm saying. That's
I still don't understand.
He's a liar.
Why he did what he did.
Like, he's a liar first.
Got it.
Let's start there. He's a liar first.
But is there any validity to the comment of, I mean, from you guys, being a black man first and then your choice who you want to love being secondary?
Well, yeah, I would say this. When you say one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, what does that mean? That means justice for all. That means that no matter what your preference, no matter where you are in life, we're born with these rights. We're born with these freedoms. So I feel as though when you are looking at someone who is a lesbian or gay, bisexual or anything, I think people on the outside like to throw those labels on them first. And I think that that's one of the things. But when I created the character of Sean and Anacostia, I wanted his sexuality to be secondary.
Got it.
I wanted everything about him to be as above line as possible. Everything that he's going through would be no different than if you lost your wife. Every emotion that you would go through after losing your wife is every emotion that he's going through. Every emotion that you would go through after losing your husband would be the same thing after that happened. And it has nothing to do with him being a member of the LGBTQ community. And the crazy thing is, that's been one of our greatest comments or greatest feedbacks from the community, saying we are so glad that you normalize him. So he's not like someone, and even though there is a population of there's a segment of the community that is very much this thing, everything, that's not who everyone is.
Like a Karama.
Right. That is not who everyone is. Like, the LGBTQ community runs the gambit of from what you would say to very flamboyant to very, very masculine men that you would not, physically looking at them, you wouldn't be able to tell. And I think that that's been the whole thing. It's like, oh, yeah, you can look at him and tell that he's gay. But there are a lot of men that's walking around nowadays that you can't even tell
And they down low, honey.
Right.
Tell it.
And the thing is, but the thing is, a lot of times they're not even down low. They're just openly gay men who are just happen to be very, very masculine, or in your opinion, what a masculine man would be. And I say this about Majical, all the time. And I think a lot of times Majical gets a lot of heat from his own community. Because he's so open and he's so like seeing his hair and everything. This is how Majical would go to work. Right. And so if he wants to put in like 32 inches of hair and go to work, I applaud him for living his authentic self. There are a lot of people that are in the LGBTQ community that are still afraid that when they see a flash go off in a club that they're like this.
Right.
Because they have that fear of I'm going to be exposed and everything else. But I will say, tracking back to what you say about the Black Lives Matter movement, I do feel personally, this is my personal opinion, I do feel as though that from what I've seen, Black Lives Matter only if you're not a member of the LGBTQ community.
Ooh.
Period.
Because there have been death after death after death after death of transgenders in Washington, D.C., shootings, muggings, robbings, killing, and it's not Black Lives Matter that comes to that support. It's the inner community of the LGBTQ community that's out there doing the candlelight vigils, that's doing the we want justice for so-and-so, like that's down there protesting saying we want this to be this person, whether it's a sex worker or whether it was just someone who was walking down Eastern Avenue, coming from the club and came across some thugs who said, all right, well, look at this guy in a wig and a dress, I'm gonna kill them. But they're still black. They still have a life, and their lives matter. So where is that community when it's one of our own?
That's a good point right there too. I don't want to ignore. I have two questions that came up from Marvin.
Okay.
His first question was, how does your family take it? You know, when you're coming out, or how was that?
Is that the magic?
I think that's the magic. And then we have the second question was, he had a question about preference. He's like, do you feel like your preference is being forced on you? Do you feel like society is somewhat forcing a preference? And I think that's a legit question, because I've heard that one a few times. And of course, he doesn't have an issue with the preference, but he wants to know from inside the community, do you feel like, in a way, is like a fad now, in some ways? Or do you feel like there's some people authentically who, have these feelings as far as the choices they're making? Or do you feel like some people are they're along for the ride just because...
Well, see, I noticed you had said that earlier. You had said something about the guy's brother was in the lifestyle. And so a lot of people say lifestyle as in it is something that we just one day decided, oh yeah, I want to go out there and be a homosexual. Yep, that sounds good. It sounds good that I want to be black. And you know what? I'm going to go and throw gay on top of it. A lifestyle would be more something of if you chose not to eat meat and you were going to be a vegan, or if you were only going to eat fish. That would be more of a lifestyle. So I think we have to just make that aware to people that it's not a lifestyle. It's more of just, I don't know what you would call it. It's the way we are. I don't think anyone, just you guys didn't decide to be straight one day. Just like, I think I'm going to, the opposite sex is what I'm going to be. You know what I mean? It wasn't a thought, at least, I don't know, you might speak for. So I don't know if people are, I just don't think that anyone, especially a black gay man, would pick to decide to be part of two oppressed minority groups in America. My problem with the Jussie Smollett thing was that Black Lives Matter when you're straight black person or if you have celebrity. And just to bring his point about the transgender, when I heard that Jussie Smollett was attacked or gay bashed or whatnot, I was like, okay, well, it still happens. So it still happens to famous people. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't outraged because this is something that happens all the time. About 2 years ago, I had a friend who lives somewhere closer around here, actually, who was stabbed to death during Black DC Pride. He was stabbed so many times that they could not even identify how many times he was stabbed. But this wasn't part of Black Lives, or you know what I'm saying? Like, we, the community, had to do our stuff to kind of reach out, even from that morning when he didn't show up to work and I got the call from his sister, hey, have you heard from, it was instant, everyone, you know, started putting out the word, going to jobs, seeing if we could contact him, but we deal with that all the time. Being attacked for who we are. So I don't think that someone would purposely choose to be homosexual as, oh, this is going to be a fad. I do think that sexuality is fluid. I think that if you find someone that you're comfortable with, you may be more willing to try something different, and not even have to be a homosexual act, but let's say you meet someone and they're like, oh, I want to pour hot wax on you. And you're like, oh, you know, I've never done that before, but if you're really into them and love them and have a safe relationship with them, you might be like, pour that wax on me, baby. You know what I mean? Like, it's a comfortability level. I think that as long as you love who you love, like, we're really not bothering.
I have a quick question. Mm-hmm. When you guys are saying that people in the LGBTQ community are getting attacked, are they getting attacked by other black people, or are they getting attacked by other people who identify as LGBTQ? The only reason why I'm saying this is because I want to make the parallel that
the sad thing is it's in their community. It's in their community. It's like normally it is walking home after the club, getting off of a bus, getting on the bus. Even our one of our members of City Boys was down on Trinidad, down on the Trinidad corridor, and getting a Lucy from a loose cigarette, getting a Lucy, and 3 guys came and attacked her.
Just a straight guy.
Yeah, like 3 guys, because she's 6'3". She's 6'3", and I think by looking at her, you can tell that like she was naturally born a male, but she's just there buying a Lucy, and she got attacked by 3 guys that had nothing to do, and she had to fend off herself. If it wasn't for some members of a fire station coming out and breaking it up, you don't know what could have happened. But I also feel like, back to one of his questions, where he says like, how did the family take it and stuff like that. Like, I think it runs the gambit. I think some parents are knowledgeable enough to where they can notice that their daughter isn't the most feminine of daughters. She likes a little more tomboyish stuff, and that is not an indication of she's going to be a lesbian, because there are a lot of young ladies that are growing up. As they're coming up, they just don't like hair, they don't like makeup, they just like leave me alone, and then they discover it along the way. But then you have some young boys who are more on the feminine side, and I think the biggest mistake, and I don't want to say mistake, but I think the biggest problem that a parent can do is to not open lines of communication with their child at that point. Like, when you see little Billy playing with dolls, or he has an inclination to play with dolls more than anything else, instead of talking to him to ask him, why do you like playing with the dolls, it goes to, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna beat your ass. And that starts that person on, I need to hide this. I need to hide this, who I am right now. So as they grow up, and it's like, if I say who I am, I'm going to be beaten or I'm going to be shunned. Then you end up finding those, what they call the DL men, who will go out and find a girlfriend, and will, after she go to sleep, will say, I'm going to 7-Eleven, and will go out and find something that he really wants. And then sometimes, I don't want to make the parallel to it, but sometimes that is how a lot of the HIV diseases spread in the heterosexual community, because you have these men who weren't spoken to as children or wasn't understood as children, and so now they have to hide who they really are. And that's one thing that I love about Magical. Like, when you see Magical, Magical is magical. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about Magical. He presents himself as who.
Very confident.
Very, 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 very confident. And that's also because Magical had a very understanding mother. Mm-hmm. Had a very understanding mother. Not everyone has that. And that's something that I would hope coming into, it's 2019, 2020, I would hope that parents are a little bit more understanding and talking to their children about, not only just about being gay or lesbian, but talking about their kids about sex. Because these kids are in elementary school, they're doing it right now. They're like learning how to give head from their good girlfriends who are far in advance in them saying, well, if you want a guy like you, this is what you have to do. And then the young guy is like, hey, well, this feels good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and let her do it. And they don't know anything about STDs, STIs. They don't know anything about that stuff. And it's because we're not communicating with our young children. We're not opening up the lines of communication. And I think a lot of times parents are scared to even ask their kids, are you gay? Are you lesbian? Because...
Or about sex in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents just, they rather, and we've seen this in the generation, they rather ignore that whole conversation than to address it. I think one of the benefits that me and my brothers had is that we had open dialogue with our parents about just that period. And anyone who's ever met my mom knows she's a very blunt, direct person. She pulls no punches. But that was to our benefit, just to make us aware, to make us comfortable with that idea. And as a result, we were all very responsible about, before we took that step in our lives. A lot of young black men, you hear them experiencing for the first time at 12, 11, 13. You can't even properly operate a video game right.
And don't realize that a lot of them were actually sexually molested too. I think that
sexual molestation is another big part.
It is.
Part. Yeah. They would be proud, like, oh yeah, my teacher or whatever when I was 9 showed me, like, and it's like,
it's molestation.
I'm not really sure if you should be proud of that. Like, you were molested. Yeah. That might be why you have a high sex drive now, and why it leads to cheating and infidelity and all of that sort of stuff, because it's what you were...
Right, being aware of your trauma.
Right.
I want to go back and I want to just make this preference about Black Lives Matter. To my understanding, Black Lives Matter was cultivated because of police brutality against Black lives. And so one thing I want to make clear is that I think whether it's the LGBTQ community or whether it's just, Nipsey Hussle getting killed by someone Black, we as Black people have to value our lives before we can enforce other people valuing our lives. Because I feel like with Black Lives Matter, I don't even think it's a matter of straight or gay or not. I think it's a matter of generally it seems like people rally around the mother or the person who was attacked by someone outside not being Black. But when I see, or hear, he was shot down 20 seconds by another Black person.
In broad daylight.
Yeah, there's no rallying around that mom. There's no outcry. So I just want to make it be clear that I don't think it's just about you being gay or you being straight. Right. I think it's about we don't value our own lives, and then when someone else doesn't value it, that's when Black Lives Matter or the outcry generally comes up. So I kind of want to make that out there because I feel like there's a large disparity, and I feel like generally it's more race related than it is anything else.
Absolutely.
But the question I have for both of you, I know we're running out of time, is I feel like LGBTQ community, I feel like it was taboo, maybe like 20 years ago or whatever, but now I feel like people are definitely coming around and being more accepting. I noticed at work there are lots of work groups where, gay, come to this gay event or yada, yada, yada.
We have
Seems
a lot of
like-
times at my company for Pride to smoke.
It seems like the sore topic where people are just, they don't understand is the transgender. And I wanted you guys to speak to that because I even want to be supportive, but I don't understand it enough to know, you know, because it's like, well, if a person feels that they're a woman, but they're dating a guy, are they gay or they're not gay? Like, I feel like we're just,
let me just say this real quick. Magical knows this.
Okay.
I don't have a fear. Like I'm very comfortable around everybody.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable around everybody. I don't. I have a. I'm very discomfortable.
Interesting.
Uncomfortable around drag queens.
Really?
Yeah. Very.
Are you scared of clowns?
No, I'm not scared of clowns, but
You're uncomfortable.
Yeah, very.
Interesting.
Very. And I don't know if it's because of the overdone makeup or it's sometimes they're kind of like overly like aggressive by pushing their fake breasts into your face or like just like doing stuff like that. But I'm very uncomfortable by drag queens. And maybe it's because of the ones that have presented themselves to me, and that's why. But and maybe I'll get around some that will make me feel comfortable. But as far as the transgender, I often ask Monroe, who is our cast member of City Boys, like, what was it? When did you realize that you were meant to be Monroe? And she says, I have always felt I've been in the wrong body. She said, I've always felt, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize that person. And now when she looks in the mirror after having her breast augmentation and everything else, she says, this is who I'm meant to be. So I can't, even though I may not understand it fully myself, I can't question if it makes that person feel like their authentic self. That's just me.
Because I believe love, but the fact that you just said you can't fully understand it, do you think that when someone who is of the heterosexual group can't fully understand homosexuality, you feel like you give them that same grace? Or no?
Yeah. I would say this, when it comes to the workplace and everything else, and I think it's all great that everybody's job has, it's Pride Month. Let's put up a pride flag. Let's do this for our LGBTQ workers. That does not mean that Millie and John are in their office running down their gay or lesbian coworker. That does not mean that. So that's just company policy. So we all have to adhere to protocol. So if you are Caucasian and you are working with a bunch of black people, you can say, you're my best friend. You can be my best friend. But then sometimes you might go home, that person might go home and be like, that nigger. Like, I can't believe what that nigger did.
Right.
So I think that we have to be honest. We have to be honest, and no matter how I operate under this philosophy, as long as you don't do anything to violate my personal space or do anything to physically make me have a reaction, you can dislike whatever you want to dislike. Because I'm not here to please you.
Right.
As long as my bills are paid, as long as there's food in my refrigerator and I have a place to live, that's all that I care about. You don't have to like what I do in my life. I don't have to like what you do in your life. But if you have a problem with it, that's yours.
I know that's right.
That's yours.
Now, and I think, I think we're kind of going over. We're going to cut here probably another 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But I do want to make this comment. I'm Christian, I'm black. But one thing I always tell, people, straight, Christian, whatever label you want to give it, is, the word of God is about love, right? You can disagree with how a person lives or how somebody identifies themselves, what have you, but I think the only way you get to a point where you can have a real conversation and really help someone, right? Or, whatever it is your mission is, you have to have a conversation. And I think too often it's the fences are up because everybody's coming in judging. But no one's having a conversation, no one's finding common ground or commonality.
But I do want to say that I don't know one gay or lesbian that has ever said they want you to accept their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
No.
Well,
I don't like. I think that the gay or lesbian that says to you that you must accept my lifestyle is someone who is seeking validation. Because a gay or lesbian who knows their worth and who knows their own and who knows their own importance couldn't care less.
Gotcha.
Couldn't care less if someone else accepts who they are. Because you don't pay my bills, you don't feed me, you don't take care of my children, if I don't see you no more in my life will still go on the same trajectory. So I feel sorry for anyone who wants to come and stand in front of somebody and say, please accept me, please accept me, please accept me, because you're going to live a horrible life. Because that's just not how life is. That's just not how life is. You could be living your best life.
Right.
You could be living your best life, and someone is going to find something to complain about.
Right. I agree.
But I do feel like as black people, we have to create that dialogue between people with different thought processes or, whatever it is. Because what happens is when you start talking about black men being assaulted in the streets, that's an issue, right? And at the end of the day, if you're gay, Christian, Muslim, whatever, when you're talking about the issue of being black in America, all would be hung from the tree the same way, right? And they can't tell the difference. Looking at you, typically, you know what I'm saying, unless, you're doing something fabulous, like my man right here. But even then, you could just be a rock star. I got plenty of friends that would dress like that. They're all straight.
Look at Prince.
Yeah, bad range, all them cats.
This man had assless pants.
So even with that, you can't. The only thing they can't see you're gay, they can't see you're Christian, they can't see you're Muslim, they can't see you're Hebrew Israelite, they can't see that, oh, I'm agnostic or I don't believe in a God at all. They can't see all these varying thoughts of I'm Republican, I'm black, I'm Democrat. All they see is your black skin, and then they attack you all the same. I feel like there should be greater unity from members of LGBT working with members of like Black Lives Matter. If the whole goal is equality and equity, despite the color of my skin, despite who I decide to live with, who I decide to marry, what have you, then that puts us all into a better place.
Right. Well, I'm gonna leave you with this last. Thought. In my opinion, as black culture, our biggest enemy is not a white police officer. It is not a white man. It is not your white boss.
That's right. Strange fruit.
It is not any of those white people. Our biggest enemy to ourselves is ourselves. Because we are the ones in our communities that are pulling out AK-47s and shooting wildly in the community, killing kids on the way to the store to get a pack of Now Lakes. So we are the ones that are in our communities that are pulling up in cars, jumping out with masks, shooting up the block because you offended me somehow. Or you got in a fist fight with my homeboy. And now I must come into your neighborhood and pull out a weapon, pull out a semi-automatic weapon, and start shooting people who have nothing to do with this.
But I will say, you see that balance, and we've talked about this on the show a lot, black on black crime versus, racial or discriminatory, inspired crimes. What you're saying is true, right? So that we can't negate that. We see it on the TV every day. But the truth is, in poor environments, Janet had mentioned earlier that men who are typically unvalued in society become violent. I think what happens is the reason why we see that kind of crime in the black community, and it's not to excuse a black man killing another black man. Not by any means should we ever excuse that kind of hate, right? However, you can't ignore systematically what got some of these situations there. Like in the white communities, the poor white communities, they're killing each other too.
I want to also just
Latino,
there is not a black on black, like that's a Fox thing that they made up to put in our minds that we're the only ones. But if you think
Any
about it,
community
white people are killing white
kill each
people.
other. Yeah.
Black people are killing black people.
Exactly.
Latinos are killing Latinos. So like
Right,
the idea
but
that black people kill.
But what I'm saying is, we're very quick to if it's broad daylight and someone is shot and killed down in our communities by a police officer. Every single person in that neighborhood has their phone out videotaping. Everyone has a record of what happened in broad daylight. This police officer shot this young black man, this young black woman. When it's our people that are shooting each other, where are the videos?
I ain't seen nothing.
Where are the eyewitnesses? But wait a minute. The problem is it's always that I didn't see nothing. I didn't see nothing.
But
I didn't see nothing until it's your niece or nephew laying on the ground. Until it's your son or daughter laying on the ground. Until it's your mother or grandmother laying on the ground. In Southeast recently, a woman who was confined to a wheelchair, to a mobilized wheelchair, whose single joy was to go roll down to the street in her wheelchair to get some candy and a soda. Shot in the head because two dudes in the neighborhood don't know how to aim a gun.
But I think, and like I said, there's validity to what you're saying. However, when you start talking about when the video cameras don't come up, it goes back to what I was saying before, because crimes happen in proximity. 80% of crimes are done by people you know. So therefore, it's one thing with somebody from outside the community. And it's obviously from outside the community because they're a police officer. Their job is to what? They're sworn to serve and protect. But when it's somebody in the community, right? You know little Ray, you know little LJ, right? Something happens. So then when the police come, now can we do a better job as our civil duty to say, you know, help solve whatever happened? That's true. But then also, there's a reason why people get scared. You feel bold when you see the police doing it. You know, you don't live here. If you do come here, I'll sue you, whatever.
Right.
But then when two guys on the block do it, first of all, it's a good chance you know both of those young men. Those young men probably knew each other before. And then the sad part is, okay, if I say something, the people who know I said something come directly to me. You're not going to be championed by the community. And mind you, once again, that's not excusing the brother killing another brother. Anybody that knows me know I don't play that. However, we can't ignore systematic redlining.
Right.
All of the different political laws and things that happen at that higher level that create those environments where these young men grow up hating each other. Right? So you can't just say that. And then we can't ignore that. That's why there's this fight for equality and equity. And I could go on this for days, but like over time.
We are. On a lighter note, we want to give you guys both the opportunity to let people know where they can follow you, how they can find out more about your projects, and then we are going to kick it off with a song by Juan. So let's start with you.
Yeah. So give us your social media.
Okay.
Tell everybody where to find Anacostia, where to find City Boys when it comes out.
Well, you can find Anacostia on Amazon Prime right now. Just go in and check up Anacostia. I think we got seasons 4 and 5.
Yeah, that's what
on Amazon. But 1, 2, 3, and 6 are on YouTube. Okay. Free of charge for right now. And then City Boys will be coming out in July with Majical. And Majical, you can...
Yeah, tell us where to find your music. Tell us where to find you on social media.
You can find me on Facebook at Magical Morgan. That's Magical with a J. I'm on IG at I am Magical with a J. And you can find me at SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/I am Magical.
All right, that's what's up.
All right.
Yeah, so if you guys have questions, definitely reach out. In the nitty gritty, we're all about being in the comments. We're all about like having dialogue and exchange. We don't always agree necessarily in the nitty gritty show, but we show that we can have a conversation without it ending with tables being thrown, somebody getting fought, police having to get called.
That's my show.
That's his show. But here, we can have this conversation. It doesn't have to be all that. And it can be exactly. And I think one thing we need to see more in society is people with a difference of opinion, disparate background, coming together and having a conversation. Because when we come together and have that conversation, for one, you create the sympathy or you create the grace because now you know someone. that thinks other than you. Until you cross that bridge, you have no reason to have the grace.
Right.
So I really applaud you guys for coming out. Excited about what you guys are doing. And that's what our platform is created to do, and is creating that greater conversation with everyone. So I'll be looking forward to your work. I think I'm going to end off in Charlamagne the God and Little Duval. Actually, it's the other way around technically. Little Duval, Charlamagne the God came out with a song. I'm going to champion this song. We're championing a new, thought process on how we look at black men. So I'm going to play a little Black Men Don't Cheat. And we'll end on that note. And those are that lies.